To give a little background, I am 45 and my wife, who is 38, and I have been married for 16 years. We have two children, a 14-year-old daughter and a 9-year-old son. In the early years, our marriage was anything but smooth, but we managed to weather those storms and came out stronger, or at least I thought so. We got married young, still figuring ourselves out, but we were sure of one thing. We loved each other and believed we could handle whatever life threw at us. Maybe that was just wishful thinking. My wife has been a senior manager at a large fashion retail company for the past 3 years, while I have been working in engineering for about 7 years. We both have good jobs, and we have managed to provide a comfortable lifestyle for our family. We've always been close-knit, putting in the effort as parents to create great memories with our kids, no matter how busy life got. We always carved out time to be together as a family. Honestly, I think I've been a pretty good dad and husband. Sure, I made mistakes with my wife, but I would go to great lengths for her. That is why I was absolutely floored when I uncovered that she had been involved in a long-term affair. That brings me to how I found out. Lately, my wife had been acting distant. These past couple of years were especially hard. Nothing I did seemed to make her happy. She constantly compared me to her boss. I get it now, but back then, she would often point out how her boss handled things and told me I should do the same. I could not read her mind, but apparently, her boss could. I would hear about how he took his wife out on dates and made her feel special. I would ask what she wanted from me, how I could bring back the spark, and her answer was always some version of, "I should not have to tell you. You should just know." So, I did my research, bought books, and tried everything I could think of to please her. But everything I did was met with either lukewarm thanks or outright disappointment. This was unlike her, and I became convinced that fixing her happiness was up to me. Little did I realize it was not me she wanted to be fixed. Ironically, we were close with her boss and his family. He was married with kids around our kids' ages, so we often got together for barbecues, family outings, and game days. Their family came over to our house frequently, and we visited theirs too, so it was natural that we became friends. I even confided in her boss about our marital struggles, and he gave what I thought was solid advice. Looking back, I feel like a fool. Anyway, back to how I found out. I was emotionally drained from trying to be the husband my wife demanded. Before all this, I honestly thought our marriage was in a good place. Then, one night, I was lying next to her in bed while she was laughing and texting someone. Curious, I leaned over to see what was so funny. Immediately, she yanked her phone away from me, and her smile vanished. She snapped at me, asking why I was snooping, and stormed off to the bathroom. That was the moment I felt, deep down, that something was definitely wrong. The next day, I made the mistake of directly asking her if she was having an affair. She got angry, denied everything, and refused to show me her phone. Later that night, she reluctantly handed it over, but it was pretty clear she had deleted most of the messages. Some conversations were full of gaps and barely made sense. After that, we did not talk about it for a while, but a month later, I got a friend to help me recover deleted messages. I learned she had another phone that she used most of the time now, which made it harder to track. Still, I managed to piece together some texts, and sure enough, I had my confirmation. She was having an affair with her boss. I knew confronting her right away would not work, as she would probably lie or cover her tracks even better. So, I decided to hold off. It tore me apart inside, and the thought of how this would impact our kids devastated me. I even broke down crying in front of my friend. But, despite everything, I still wanted to save our marriage. 3 days later, I ordered a book on healing from infidelity, hoping it might help if I could get my wife to read it. I was prepared to talk to her about it on Saturday, but she claimed there was an urgent situation at work and not to wait up. I called her office to confirm, only to find out they were closed on Saturdays. When I tried her cell, there was no answer. She came home around 2 in the morning, showered, and went straight to bed. I asked her why she got home so late, and she brushed it off, reminding me she had told me not to wait up. I did not bother giving her the book. I was hurting, and she clearly did not care. Desperate for answers, I reached out to her boss's wife. She was as shocked as I was and wanted to confront him, but I convinced her it was better to gather solid evidence first. We met up, shared what little information we had, and agreed to dig further, each on our side. Her boss's wife quickly uncovered undeniable proof since he had not even bothered to delete their texts. Everything started to come together, and we realized the affair had been going on for 2 full years. We both wanted to get back at them, and badly. They had slept together everywhere. Her place, my place, fancy hotels, even on business trips. Reading through it all made me sick. They even sent each other photos, but we chose to ignore those. No need to scar ourselves any more than we already were. We wanted revenge, but not through having affairs ourselves. So, we agreed that if they wanted each other so much, they could just have each other. Both of us filed for divorce at almost the same time, fully committed to moving on. They had no idea we were onto them, so we just kept playing our roles until the timing was right. When everything was in place, we learned that they were planning another meetup. With the help of her boss's wife, I knew exactly where and how I would confront them. They had booked a room at a nearby hotel for the weekend. I went to the hotel with the sheriff, waiting in the lobby while the sheriff made arrangements. Eventually, my wife was called down from her room. She appeared in a bathrobe, looking startled as she saw me there, and frantically demanded to know what I was doing. The sheriff confirmed her identity, and then she was officially served with the divorce papers. Watching the shock hit her face was oddly satisfying, but I held back from saying much, choosing to turn and walk away, feeling that my job was done. But she grabbed my arm, holding me back and demanding an explanation. I told her simply, "You cheated, and I'm leaving." She started screaming, pulling on my arm so hard that the sheriff had to intervene, telling her to let go. She finally released me but kept crying, insisting that I had it all wrong, or that somehow it was my fault. I felt myself getting angrier, so I left quickly and went home. Afterward, her boss's wife told me that he panicked and rushed home when he found out. He ended up being served there. We blindsided them, just like they did to us. My divorce will be finalized in a few months, but her case is dragging out longer. Both my wife and her boss are resisting the divorces, claiming they never intended to leave us, that it was purely physical. They have even said things like, "People make mistakes in marriages all the time and still work it out." I asked my wife what she thought would come of all this, and she had no real answer other than that she just went with the flow. She claims that it was out of character and that she's not that kind of person anymore. I told her she was being foolish. Some people around me think I am being too harsh, saying I should give her another chance. My kids, who know age-appropriate details, support me but would prefer if we stayed together. I feel my own resolve starting to waver, especially since we still live under the same roof, and she's been going to therapy and even reading that book I bought. She says she's willing to do whatever it takes. I keep telling her that the only thing she's sorry about is getting caught. One time, she called me bitter and resentful, unable to move past what happened. She later apologized for it, but I know that's what she really thinks. My wife also hates that I still talk to her boss's wife, fearing that I'll have some kind of revenge affair with her. She has begged me to cut all contact with her boss's wife, just like she has done with her boss, but I refused, telling her she's being ridiculous. My respect for her is gone, even though she keeps trying to engage me with explanations for her affair, which to me just sound like excuses. She wants us to go to therapy together, but I have read too many stories where the therapist blames the betrayed partner, so I refused. She also wants us to read infidelity books as a couple. I told her there was no point if we were heading for divorce. She even tried to initiate intimacy, which I turned down, telling her that I would not let her manipulate me with sex. She insisted it was not manipulation, that she just wanted to show me how much she loves me. I corrected her, saying she means she loves me now, not then. People around me, even my mom, say that everyone makes mistakes and that my wife now realizes how much she truly loves me. But I am not willing to be anyone's backup plan. I feel bad about how I treat her, because deep down, I still love her, even though there is anger mixed in. Am I being too harsh? She's making a real effort, but I cannot bring myself to care. Should I reconsider the divorce? People tell me I am moving too fast and that I will regret it, but I am torn between what feels real and what is not. My wife and I are in an okay place, not because we're reconciling, but because we're civil as we navigate the divorce process. She is still begging for another chance, doing everything possible to win me back, but I am holding firm. A 2-year affair is not something I can just get over. We went to a couple of therapy sessions together. The first one was helpful. I came away with a better understanding of her remorse. But the second session was a disaster because it turned into her accusing me of potentially cheating with her boss's wife, which made me angrier than ever. I told her I would not stop talking to her boss's wife, and we ended up having a major argument after that session. I assured her there would be no revenge affair. Even though I owe her nothing at this point, she is still my wife until the divorce is final, and I want to keep my integrity intact. I have been going to a few more therapy sessions with her, but not because I secretly want to salvage our marriage. I just want to witness her progress firsthand and participate as needed. Once the divorce is finalized, I plan to walk away with my dignity intact. The boss's wife is also pushing forward with her divorce, even though her husband is fighting it every step of the way. Like me, she is determined, and we often lean on each other for support on particularly tough days. However, I do not foresee any kind of romantic relationship between us. We are simply friends and nothing more. She is a strong, independent person who refuses to tolerate nonsense, which I admire. Our kids are doing well, given the circumstances. They understand that, even though their mom and I are divorcing, it does not mean we love them any less. They wish the divorce was not necessary, but we have explained it in age-appropriate ways, and they understand why we are moving forward. My wife no longer works at the fashion retail company. She quit right after I served her the papers. She claims to have gone no contact with her former boss and has even reached out on forums to get advice on saving our marriage. Reading posts and comments on forums has helped me understand why some people choose to stay with unfaithful partners. I have to admit that seeing my wife put in so much effort to change and improve herself is tempting, in a way. She is not a terrible person. She is flawed and made some horrific choices, but she seems committed to becoming better. She has offered me everything she can think of to get another chance. Yet, as the divorce date draws closer, I feel more and more at peace. We had a long talk recently, during which she asked if there was any chance we could try again after the divorce. She even suggested starting from scratch, taking it as slow as I needed. I was not totally opposed, but it would be a long, hard road for her if I ever decided to consider it. She seems willing, but I doubt it would benefit either of us. I know a big part of my desire for this divorce comes from wanting justice. It is the only real justice I can get without lowering myself to her level. I have also patched things up with my mom, who initially wanted me to give my wife a second chance. But after learning the full extent of the affair, she is furious with my wife. I am not sure how to handle that dynamic going forward. Revenge affair. I was not planning on posting again until the divorce was final, but I am feeling particularly angry today and need to get this off my chest. My wife is still terrified of the idea that I might seek a revenge affair, mainly because I still talk to and occasionally see the other betrayed spouse. My wife is especially insecure because her boss's wife, the other betrayed spouse, is younger, very attractive, and a successful business owner. It drives her crazy, thinking I might eventually give in and cheat on her as payback. The nerve she has to lecture me about two wrongs do not make a right is infuriating. While she is not wrong, I am not about to stoop to her level, but the hypocrisy still grates on me. Whenever I make plans to visit her boss's wife, always with my kids present, my wife gets overly emotional, sometimes sad or clingy. It baffles me how selfish cheaters can be, focusing only on their own pain while the person they betrayed has to pick up the pieces and move forward. The kids from both families still spend time together, and my wife is convinced that I am capable of being as heartless as she was, taking advantage of the situation. To her, it is laughable, as I have made my stance on this clear. The boss is now living at a vacation home, trying desperately to convince his wife to take him back. Watching him face the consequences of his actions does bring me some satisfaction. He does not threaten me, knowing I have plenty of leverage on him. He is allowed to visit his kids, but he makes sure I am not around when he does. I cannot help but pity him in some ways. Meanwhile, my wife has been extra apologetic, pouring affection on me that I mostly ignore. I am not in a great place right now, and we have another therapy session today. Part of me wants to unleash all the anger and pain I have held inside because of her actions. The rage is becoming difficult to contain. Update. After a recent therapy session, my wife asked if I would consider giving her just a little more time to prove herself. She listed all the reasons why I should give our marriage a second chance and try to rebuild, even if it is just to see if healing is possible. I keep reminding her that she is only doing all this because her affair blew up in her face. She would never be putting in this effort if she were still seeing him. She emotionally tormented me for months, and I refused to be a doormat, even for someone I once loved deeply. She acknowledged her mistakes again and apologized. She keeps making endless promises of how she will make it up to me, saying that she wants to build a marriage stronger than ever. I asked her if she was willing to accept the anger I have pent up, and she assured me she would. She even encouraged me to let it all out whenever I needed to, thinking it might help me process the pain. Normally, I do not entertain her attempts to justify her affair, but she keeps pushing, and I am still weighing my options. This time, instead of more excuses, she was straightforward. She admitted that there was no justification for what she did and promised to spend the rest of her life showing, through her actions, that she was genuinely sorry and would never betray me like that again. She actually opened up about her feelings, which gave me a bit of insight into her state of mind. She confessed that she had always felt insecure and had been envious of the other betrayed spouse. The affair made her feel powerful, attractive, and wanted, which boosted her self-esteem. She admitted that it was all a fantasy, one she never thought would last, though she rarely stopped to think about the consequences. Now, she regrets every moment of it and says she will live with that guilt forever. My wife also confessed that she feels she could never measure up to the other betrayed spouse, which is part of why she's so certain I'll cheat in retaliation. She acknowledged that the other betrayed spouse not only has beauty but also integrity, qualities she feels she lacks. She said the other woman had never spoken a harsh word to her or made threats, showing a strength my wife envies. It was clear her insecurities were talking, fueled by the fact that I am angry and hurt by her betrayal. Then the therapist asked me what it would take for me to consider her proposal to try again. I honestly had no answer, except that I wished I had a time machine to undo it all. I said what we have now feels like a mockery of a marriage, one I never signed up for. The therapist reminded me that every marriage faces difficulties, from infidelity to the loss of a loved one, and it is how those challenges are handled that defines the strength of a marriage. I could not believe the conversation was going in that direction, so I told the therapist to keep the focus on my wife's behavior, not my reluctance. The therapist pointed out that my unwillingness to consider a different perspective might be affecting our communication, which I did not deny. On the drive home, my wife asked if her affair made me feel emasculated. I was genuinely surprised by her question but answered honestly, yes, it did. She then shocked me by asking if I would feel better if I had an opportunity to sleep with another woman. Once again, I assured her that I was not interested in any revenge affair. She clarified, suggesting a trial separation instead, where I could date or explore other relationships while she waited, committed to remaining faithful until I was ready to return, if ever. I told her I found her proposal extreme, asking how it would help our marriage if we were both with other people. She explained that my experiences would not be considered an affair because we would be separated, with clear boundaries in place. I told her it seemed like a huge gamble, but she reasoned that since we were already heading for divorce, there was nothing to lose. Still, I rejected the idea. It felt completely out of character for her to suggest something like that. Over the past few weeks, she has been oddly calm and patient, almost like a different person. But I know better than to let my guard down. While she has been generous throughout the divorce process, offering more than her fair share, I cannot shake the feeling that there may be an angle I am not seeing. Divorces often turn messy, but so far, ours has remained civil, which makes the entire situation feel surreal and difficult to process. Edit. Just to clarify, I am still going through with the divorce. I am open to hearing people's thoughts on this. Update. Hello again, everyone. Thanks to those of you who have reached out with support. I thought I would give an update on where things stand. My wife and I agreed to stay civil for the kids' sake and to spend the holidays together as a family. It will be our last holiday together, although my wife is still hoping it will not be. This was all for the sake of our kids because I love them dearly. The divorce is set to be final by mid-February, for those who were curious. We split everything 50-50, though she was generous on her end. I am unsure if it is a tactic, but so far, she has been fair, admitting that I deserve a good settlement because I was a devoted husband and father. I decided to stop going to therapy with her as it was giving her mixed signals and false hope. She confided that she feels an intense desire to be intimate with me, understanding that her affair had left me feeling undesirable and emasculated. She has been persistently initiating intimacy, something she rarely did before all of this, which was initially upsetting. Yet over time, I appreciated that she recognized my hurt and was trying to address it, though I continued to turn her down. She insists that her attempts have nothing to do with reconciliation. She just wants me to feel appreciated and valued. For now, I have cut off contact with the other betrayed spouse. Someone pointed out that I might be having a revenge affair, and while I initially dismissed the idea, I realized they were not entirely wrong. The other betrayed spouse even confessed her interest in seeing where things could go between us, but made it clear that she would wait until my divorce was finalized. That admission left me feeling confused and unsure, so we decided to put some distance between us until everything settles down. She is an incredible person, but I am uncertain if I can reciprocate those feelings or if I am ready to handle that situation at all. As for my wife, she has been extremely apologetic, showering me with attention and affection, but it mostly just leaves me feeling numb. I want to be clear. Her decision to leave her husband has nothing to do with me. She is completely done with him, and that is her choice alone. When we are together, we do not badmouth our spouses. Recently, her husband, who had always been pretty arrogant, met up with me to apologize for everything that happened. I could tell this experience had humbled him, but honestly, I could not bring myself to accept his apology. Call it petty, but I have no interest in his regrets or the mess he's going through. I have a question, though. Is it wrong to sleep with my wife even though we are not reconciling? I miss the intimacy, the closeness, and yes, even the sex. She has been trying everything to get my attention. New lingerie, flirtatious messages, affectionate touches, even handwritten notes. Sometimes, it is hard to resist. She has also thrown away, burned, and replaced anything that was connected to her affair with her boss, even though I never asked her to. I did not care to know all the details of where they had been together. These feelings are hard to turn off. Is this a trap, or am I just being paranoid? Before anyone suggests kicking her out, I have tried that, but it is easier to keep things civil and under one roof until the divorce is finalized. Rant. I have finally come to terms with something. For a while, I felt like I had wasted all those years with a woman who turned out to be unworthy, but she gave me 2 amazing kids and some good memories, which I will always cherish. Now, I am starting to see that I deserve better. She put me down, made me feel less than, and immediately shifted her energy toward another man as soon as he showed interest. I am finally realizing that I am over her. Only now, when it is too late, does she try to keep me. Now, she is eager to do anything to make me happy. Now, she wants to be adventurous in bed when she was never that way with me before. Through the text with her boss, I only got a glimpse of how wild things were between them. She never showed me that level of passion, and it tells me all I need to know. She is now giving me the space I need, supporting me in whatever I do, and finally respecting my boundaries. Now, she sees me as the man I wanted her to see all along, but I had to knock her off her pedestal first. She is completely transparent and honest with me, even if it embarrasses her or makes her look bad. She regrets the affair every single day, and I can see how much shame she carries. She looks miserable, even when she tries to hide it. Sometimes, it makes me feel guilty, but I remind myself that this is necessary. People keep saying I should see her changes as a positive step, and that some marriages do survive long-term affairs, even coming out stronger on the other side. But for me, respect is everything, and I cannot accept being disrespected. In the early days after I found out, I might have been willing to fight for us, but I quickly realized that was not the path for me. To answer everyone who has been following my story, I am going to enjoy this Christmas with my family and then move on from my wife. I have decided to stop entertaining the what-if scenarios that give her power over me. I am done with her, fully and finally. While I do not see her as some kind of villain, and I do wish her happiness, it will not be with me. I also called the other betrayed spouse today and invited her to dinner after the holidays to thank her for being there for me when I hit rock bottom. She agreed, and I am grateful for her friendship. Before anyone jumps to conclusions, I want to clarify that I did not plan any of this with her. My emotions have been a mess for years now, and the thought of dating again never even crossed my mind until recently. Right now, it is just dinner, nothing more. Unless we both want it to be. The closer I get to finalizing the divorce, the more I realize I have options, and one of those options has been standing right there. As for my wife's boss, I could not care less about him. I do not expect to remarry, and I will be upfront about that with anyone I date. Despite the relatively smooth divorce process, I am still losing a lot financially, and marriage just feels like a sham to me now. Apologies if this sounds cynical. I am still jaded. I gave my best years to someone who gave me so little in return. I will be taking a break from sharing updates, so you will not hear from me for a while. It has been a long road, but I am finally divorced. It has been nearly 3 weeks since the papers were signed, and the separation is official. For the first few days afterward, I felt like I was grieving the loss of a loved one. It hit me hard, the reality that my marriage had ended in such a spectacular failure. I have never cried this much, not even when I first discovered the affair. I went through intense anger, too, probably one of the lowest points of my life. For the kids' sake, I worked with my ex to organize everything. She moved out and is now living in an apartment, which is a major downgrade for her, and it visibly affects her. She is still seeing her therapist, reading about infidelity, and trying to learn from her mistakes, though I am not sure why at this point. We have had some long conversations since the divorce, but I make sure to keep things minimal and without physical contact. I know I should not engage too much, but she is still the mother of my children, and I want to maintain a good co-parenting relationship. It is the same story as before. She wants to reconcile, but I know the risk is just too great for me. I have learned a lot from this community and others who have been through similar situations. This newfound clarity has given me the strength to make peace with my decision and move forward. I decided against giving her any gifts of that sort. Over the weekend, I went out to dinner with the other betrayed spouse, with no expectations beyond enjoying a good conversation and some company. We ended up chatting about everything under the sun, and things took a surprisingly flirtatious turn. I will admit I was hesitant to let the mood shift so quickly, but ultimately, the night ended in a very passionate way. Apologies if that is too much information, but it was genuinely one of the most incredible experiences I have had. She is generous in a way my ex never was, and I realized just how much I had been missing. It was clear that we both wanted the same thing that night, and it was not just the wine and conversation. I suppose I should stop calling her the other betrayed spouse, since she is divorced now too, but for simplicity, I will keep it that way here. I doubt we will take things much further. I think it was a moment of shared emotion and connection rather than the start of something serious. She has mentioned wanting more, but I am not sure yet. Both of us need time to heal emotionally. Despite this, the experience did wonders for my self-esteem. It reminded me what it feels like to be desired, and to truly connect with someone in a way that I had missed for years. No more settling for robotic intimacy. The best part is that I know I did not compromise my morals. I did not cheat, and I handled things as best as I could given the circumstances. Looking back, I am proud of how I navigated everything, even if it cost me financially. I was open to advice from people who had been through similar situations, and I think that made a huge difference. This community and others who have shared their stories saved me from a downward spiral, and for that, I am forever grateful. Key takeaways. Respect yourself. Never accept disrespect, no matter who it is coming from. Know your worth in a relationship. A healthy relationship should be fulfilling in every way, and that includes intimacy. Do not settle. If your partner does not match the energy and care you bring, especially if they once did with someone else, it is okay to move on. Communication is vital. This cannot be overstated. Healing is personal. Ultimately, the only person who can heal you is yourself. I have learned a lot, and while there are more lessons, those are the ones that stick with me most. I will be around to answer any comments for a bit, but after that, I am moving on and will not be posting here again. Things are steady now. Hi everyone. I have been getting a lot of messages from people asking how things are going. I have intentionally kept away from any infidelity-related content because I still have triggers, but I wanted to reassure everyone that I am okay. I am still seeing a therapist, and I am still dating the other betrayed spouse. She was able to settle her case with her ex in terms of child custody and finances. She handled it with maturity, which I respect. She could have gone after him financially but chose not to. There is some friction between our children regarding the situation, and we are trying to address it carefully. Therapy has been helpful in making sure they adjust and understand that the relationship between me and the other betrayed spouse does not affect them negatively. It is hard for everyone, as not all parties are on board. My daughter, my ex-wife, and the other man struggle to be around each other without tension. Both my ex and her former boss seem to blame each other for the way things turned out. It is particularly difficult with my ex, who still wants another chance. She believes that my involvement with the other betrayed spouse clouds my judgment, making me less likely to reconcile. At a recent 4th of July party, she even tried something to get my attention, which I shut down immediately. I honestly did not think she would be this persistent, but you all were right. She wants to come crawling back, and it is putting a strain on things. The other betrayed spouse is letting me handle it, but I can tell she is getting fed up. I had once hoped my ex-wife was truly working on becoming a better person, but ever since I started seeing someone else, she has been a bit of a wreck. This part still confuses me. I treated her better than anyone else in my life, and she treated me poorly, yet now, after everything, she is going to extreme lengths to get my attention. It is frustrating, but at this point, I am done trying to make sense of it. To everyone who reached out, thank you for the support. You can rest assured that I am doing all right. I am concerned about my daughter, though, which has been the hardest part of this entire situation. I keep open lines of communication with my kids to understand how they are processing everything. I reassure them that if they have any concerns about my relationship with the other betrayed spouse, they can tell me without fear of judgment. My 10-year-old son has really taken to her, but my 15-year-old daughter is a bit more hesitant. She tells me she wants me to be happy and does not feel it is her place to interfere, but I make sure she knows that her feelings matter. She seems okay with the other betrayed spouse but needs time to adjust. We have had many talks about healthy relationships, and I encourage both my kids to express any concerns they may have. The other betrayed spouse and I are careful to keep our relationship low-key around all the kids, my son and daughter, along with her 2 daughters. Everyone is in therapy, which has helped to some degree. The affair and divorce took a toll on my daughter's relationship with her mother. She often tells me that she blames her mom entirely for everything falling apart. She is openly resentful toward her mom, sulking during visits, brushing off her mom's attempts at affection, and even swearing at her once. I had to step in that time to remind her to keep respectful, but her anger is hard to ignore. There have been plenty of arguments between them, and it worries me deeply to see my daughter affected this way. My ex is doing what she can to rebuild their relationship, but it is challenging for her to do it alone. She has asked me to help since I was the one who decided to divorce, though it was ultimately due to her actions. I am above holding that over her head, but it does make me question how I handled everything. Here are a few things that keep me up at night. My daughter shows almost no respect for her mother. She wishes things could go back to how they were before the affair, not fully understanding her mom's behavior. Though she is in therapy, I am uncertain how much it is helping. I worry that she feels voiceless and overwhelmed by everything. She seems to handle my relationship with the other betrayed spouse well, but I worry she may be hiding her feelings. Despite these concerns, I am certain I cannot go back to that toxic relationship with my ex. Still, if anyone has advice, I would appreciate it. Update. I know many of you have been worried about me. Hi everyone. I have seen the messages in my inbox from people checking in. Apologies for not responding sooner. I'm not very active here anymore. I wanted to give you an update, though it is not a fairy tale ending. Let us tackle the big question first. How are things between the other betrayed spouse and me? In short, we are doing fantastically well. I often joke that if I had known there were women like her out there, I would have found her years ago. Joking aside, she has shown me what a healthy relationship looks like, which is something I doubted I would ever find. She has been an incredible partner, and I am deeply in love with her. Although I still have reservations about marriage, she has given me a lot of hope. We keep things private and involve the kids as little as possible in our relationship. However, they know we are dating, and they are adjusting well. Honestly, it was rough at first, but they are coming around. I think it helps that we are both highly involved in their lives and make sure they have support whenever they need it. Therapy has played a big role in that too. My daughter and son both adore the other betrayed spouse. She has a natural way with kids, and her daughters have warmed up to me too. Her youngest has even started referring to me as her stepdad, which took me by surprise. Hearing that hit me hard emotionally, though I try to keep a calm exterior. I love watching my kids happily play with hers, even if they gang up to tease my son as the youngest and only boy of the group. As for my ex-wife, we remain on civil terms. She has been putting in a lot of work to rebuild her relationship with our daughter, and I was genuinely relieved when my daughter told me she felt she could forgive her mother. Despite their progress, I sense that my ex has not fully let go of the idea of us reconciling. She hints at a second chance now and then, though I have moved on. She has been going to the gym and is still in therapy, and overall, she seems healthier. But I have made peace with the past, and it is her challenge to do the same. Interestingly, she now talks more with the other betrayed spouse, who reciprocates but keeps her guard up, which is fair given everything that has happened. As for her former boss, he is still a mess. I never expected the fallout to hit him this hard. He is dating someone new, but his kids openly dislike her, and I am not a fan either. She comes across as shallow and self-centered, especially toward his girls. It took me a while to see just how full of himself he truly is. In conclusion, things are better than just okay. I had my doubts, but with everyone's effort, we are all finding a new normal that works. It may not be a happily ever after, but I am genuinely happy, and that is more than enough for me. Thanks to everyone who checked in. You can rest easy. I am doing just fine. What do you think about this story? Write in comments. If you don't follow our channel Cheating Room, you will probably never hear from us again. If you are subscribed, congratulations, you will not miss any exciting story. Thank you for listening to this shocking story with us. See you again.
Bye bye.